Like its predecessors, Halloween Ends is a bit of a mixed bag. Many people love the film, citing how innovative and fresh the story feels, while just as many people hate the movie, citing how little screen time Michael Myers, the main figure in this franchise, has in the film. So, which is it? On the latest episode of the Professional Appreciators podcast, my co-host Evan and I defend Halloween Ends as a great, good. It's a good movie, and explain why we enjoyed the film.
Let's address the biggest criticism. So
Okay.
let's defend the Corey element.
Yeah.
Now, having been a part of the Twitter universe, I'm on Twitter.
Correct.
I was prepped by a lot of people saying this movie takes a big departure. This movie doesn't focus on Michael Myers right away. So I was kind of prepped for the Corey storyline. You were not. So I want to hear your initial thoughts on when he lets that child fall. Well, he doesn't but the kid falls from the banister.
When he lets that child fall.
When that kid had it coming and he fell off the banister, and for like 20 minutes, it's just straight up Corey's life.
Yeah.
What did you think?
So I think, first of all, as a, newborn baby, basically, to the movie,
Right.
I'm coming in. I don't have any of these,
Where are you going to take this metaphor?
I don't have any of these, things coming in and trying to change my opinion and stuff like that. I am not taking that metaphor any further, by the way.
Yeah.
No, but I'm trying to say, basically, I didn't know anything about it. And first of all, when the movie started, if you don't know anything about it, Corey comes off as very likable.
Yeah.
Like his story comes off as extremely I feel bad for this guy, kind of, especially once you get kind of past, you start seeing the town basically bully him mercilessly.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I want this guy to have a come up, I want him to be able to rise above. But, when you realize basically that that's not going to happen and that he's going a different direction, for me personally, it was another layer kind of to the movie of oh man, I have to say goodbye to what I wanted for this character and kind of realize that he's pushing into this evil thing, and the town and what he's been through and Michael, it's all kind of culminated into him becoming something that is evil. Yeah. And that, for me, that journey and that realization of it fully being realized was a very interesting journey for me. And, I think it could be argued that it's not, on brand or on, that the themes aren't correct for a Halloween movie. But I think it was a very interesting place to go for me personally. My mind was kind of bouncing back and forth between what I wanted to see this character do and what he was actually becoming. And I was making excuses for him while I was watching the movie.
Yeah.
That kid had it coming. He deserved that. He can bounce back from that. That's understandable. And I'm starting to make excuses for the evil stuff he's doing. And it's taking me down the same path. And then it gets too far where it's just I can't.
Well, this doctor was a bad doctor, maybe. He's a little sexist.
Whenever he stomped the girl's face under the fence or whatever, I was like, wow, she was a bully too.
Once he got to the DJ, I was like, he crossed the line.
Yeah. He's crossed the line. You can't kill the DJ. He's fun.
Taking off my Corey shirt. I'm not Team Corey anymore.
Yeah, taking my t-shirt off.
Okay, I'll say this.
Yeah, what did you think as somebody that kind of knew it was coming?
Yeah, I will say knowing it was going to happen really kind of helped me not get surprised or get
too attached.
I don't know if this is drastic, narrative whiplash. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, and genuinely, I got too attached to Corey. I did. Yeah. I was I got too caught up in the love story. I got too caught up in what I wanted for him, and then I realized it was going the other direction. I was like, oh.
I will say, September, October, I watch a lot of horror movies. It's pretty much any movie I watch is a horror movie. So I've been watching a lot of 80s horror movies. Like I just watched Christine a month ago, and being in that headspace, I think prepped me because that kind of bullying storyline is very 80s. It's very Stephen King, where it's like over the top. That kind of bullying does not exist today.
Right.
So I think for a lot of modern audiences, it like seems fake. It takes you out of the movie. It seems a little schlocky.
Sure.
But being in the 80s horror headspace, I was kind of like, yeah, that's just how things work.
Yeah, you get bullied, bro.
You get bullied. People take knives out and like literally threaten to murder you, you know, like
on the street. Yeah.
That's how it was in the 80s.
That's just how it works.
Yeah. No parents around ever. You know, just like.
And if they do, they're leaving. If they are there, they're leaving to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And if the parents are real, they're like psychos, like his mom, you know, like, where have you been? You're like, but also I want to make out with you, you know, like it's like almost
a very
like
weird relationship.
It's almost like, wait, the mom is like very overprotective, but like almost in a way that like they want to like be in love with I don't know. It's like,
that relation.
Yeah, that was very weird. Okay. Anyway, but I'm going to say this, and this might be controversial. As someone who's been like rewatching all the Halloween movies, I think this movie's treatment of Corey's like interior life and his motivations, and this movie being empathetic to Corey as a character, the Halloween franchise hasn't done this with the character since Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
Like, this is a franchise really not known for character work or being like a character-centric movie or character study. It pretty much after the original Laurie Strode storylines, the new protagonists are literally just there as lambs to the slaughter.
Yeah.
You know nothing about really their lives. There's maybe a little lip service like in Halloween 4 and 5, I can't remember, but like Laurie's cousin, whoever the new protagonist is, you get a little bit of like how bad her household is and stuff that. But it's really just the first 5 minutes and that's it. Then they're just kind of like a lamb to the slaughter again.
Yep.
This movie really does work for the first half of the movie as a character study on Corey as a guy who had an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
And the town can only see him through the lens of he's the guy who let that kid die.
Yeah.
And, or maybe he straight up murdered that kid, or the way in which a community can take stories of tragedy and pretty much treat that as another way to create a boogeyman. Yeah. Like communities love boogeymen. Yeah. And they love having that thing outside of the community that they can blame for the bad, the ills in the community, instead of looking in the mirror. Yeah. And I think this movie's saying that's what Michael does in the community. Michael is a boogeyman tale that they use to blame things on. Yeah. Which in the very beginning of Corey's storyline, what's happening? The kid is like, oh, Michael Myers is blah, blah, blah. Like, don't let Michael Myers into the house. And it affects Corey. He's scared, and that's what leads to the accident. Yeah. And the fact that this town can't let Michael Myers go as a boogeyman tale that they take advantage of, because they can't do that, of course, Michael Myers continues to have negative impact on the community. And the fact that they don't treat the victims of Michael Myers seriously, like Laurie Strode, like her granddaughter, like Corey. I mean, Corey kind of is a victim of Michael Myers in the sense that it was the story of Michael Myers and him being so terrified that led to the accident. Yeah. And the fact
it began on that night, that night of the accident. Yeah.
And sorry, I'm like going very long-windedly.
You're good.
But it takes his storyline, it takes his character seriously in a way that hasn't really happened in the Halloween franchise. And I really like that it was a character study.
Yeah, I like that too. I think, kind of piggybacking off of that, that's why they go so far to basically show that Michael is just human at the end of the movie. Like, he finally, like, Halloween ends, like, he can be killed, and they're basically saying, like, these boogeymen, these things that we build up in our minds to blame, like, they are just flesh and bone to a certain extent and can be defeated and can be, like, gotten rid of. We don't have to hold them up in, like, this immortal kind of regard. But no, I think piggybacking off of that, again, the character study of Corey, I think, is so interesting through the lens of Laurie too. Laurie. Because I think Laurie sees herself in him, and she chose through a long battle, chose the side of good, or she chose to see the good things in life and have a life. And she sees Corey making that other decision because she knows at some point there was a crossroads for her.
Yeah.
And she had to make that decision,
Yeah, because the community, again, that's where I love how Halloween Ends really puts the onus on the community and the culpability on the community where Corey, as a victim, true, like, he wasn't the one who fell off of the banister, off the stairwell.
Sure.
But it wasn't his fault. And so this tragedy happens to him. It's not his fault. And the community treats him as an outcast. And he can go one of two ways. Just like in kind of Christine, which is, I think, this movie's biggest influence, where you can either find power in a negative sense and have power to inflict trauma.
Yeah.
Or you can really look inside and find a way to lean on other people like Laurie or Laurie's granddaughter who understand that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
And find your own community and them and not worry about the outside community. And he can go one of two ways. And in the David Gordon Green universe, the very first Halloween 2018, Laurie was treated kind of similarly in the community, where she's this
pariah.
She's this crazy woman living out in this kind of Kevin McAllister-fied, like booby-trapped house. And podcasters want to interview her, like, oh, this crazy woman who survived this thing 20 years ago and won't let it go. Like, she's weird. She like you said, she understands that. And Corey could go two ways. And I thought this movie really understands how real that can be in real life, where victims, people who've experienced traumatic effects, can be just as vilified as the perpetrators of that trauma.
I liked it because I really enjoyed the storyline of Corey. I really enjoyed where it took my mind. I was on his side, and then I had to kind of go with it and make excuses for it. I thought that was really unique for a Halloween movie. I don't usually have to do that. Usually I'm like, he's evil, they're good. Yeah. Like Clash. But there was a little ambiguity there, which I enjoyed. And I really liked that. That's probably the main thing, but I always enjoy kind of what Halloween does and the messaging around like true evil and how a community can feed that. I thought that was a really good part about this movie.
Yeah. We said this is defending Halloween Ends, but I respect anyone who didn't like it.
Sure.
I totally understand. I totally understand how someone could not like this movie. Like I said, it's a little schlocky at times. It's a little hokey. It takes a drastic turn from the Halloween franchise. But again, being this many movies into the Halloween franchise, the fact that it found new thematic ground to take the story and new narrative ground, like having binged all the Halloween movies up to this point, it was refreshing.
Yeah.
And again, I thought it took Corey's character seriously, and as a character study, as a character-driven film, I really appreciated that, whereas so many movies in this franchise have no character work whatsoever other than how is Michael going to kill this person.
Yeah.
I thought that was refreshing. I liked how it, in a meta sense and reflexively, looks back on what is the purpose of Michael in this community? How does Michael function in this universe? I thought was interesting, and it gave me something to chew on after the movie. And you know what? It was just fun to see Michael Myers have a partner for once.
Have a buddy.
Yeah. You know?
It was good.
I could see how that could, in the same way that like Malignant from last year, it just is a little too goofy at times. But personally, I like a little bit of goofiness in my horror. Just a little bit.
I do too. And I've been rewatching a lot of the Halloween movies and just realizing something I've never realized before, which is that Michael Myers has a real sense of humor.
He does, dude.
He's hilarious.
That's the one thing. Like, people in this movie were like, Michael is a little goofy in this movie, and I'm like, go back to the very first John Carpenter Halloween.
He's a goofball.
He puts on a white bedsheet with glasses. Michael Myers is a goofball.
I was just talking about that last night.
Yeah.
I was like, see, because I'd been pointing it out in other movies.
Yeah.
I was like, look, he's like wearing a bedsheet with glasses. That's hilarious. Like he sneaks up on people disguised as other people as like the only reason you would do that is a personal laugh.
It's a prank. Michael Myers likes pranks.
Yeah,
he does.
He just takes them too far.
But yeah, you know the drill. Patreon.com/why it's great. Sub to the YouTube channel. Leave a review for our podcast.
Yeah, leave a little review.
Yeah.
Just say good.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, just
three and
good.
a half sharp knives.
Yeah, yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, please let us know in the comments what you thought of Halloween Ends. Did you like it? Did you hate it? I just want to know what you think. I don't really care if you disagree with us. I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hearing it from Twitter, so I might as well hear it from YouTube.
Yeah,
so.
Evan needs to know. Evan needs to know. All right. Well, I think we've said enough. Again, the defense rests.
Defense rests.
And I got to get to work.
Yeah, there you go.
So see you next time.
Bye.